The internet has become a central stage for political discourse. People turn to online platforms to engage with news, political candidates, and fellow citizens. YouTube, as a video-sharing giant, plays a crucial role in shaping this digital public square. With billions of hours of video watched daily, it holds immense power in influencing public opinion and, consequently, electoral processes. This immense reach comes with a significant responsibility to ensure the platform is not used to undermine democratic values and fair elections. YouTube's efforts to combat election misinformation are multifaceted, encompassing both proactive measures and reactive responses to policy violations. The platform has established a comprehensive set of community guidelines that outline acceptable content. These guidelines are not unique to election cycles, but apply broadly to all content uploaded to the platform. However, their application becomes particularly critical during elections when the stakes of misinformation are higher. The sheer volume of content uploaded to YouTube daily makes manual moderation an impossible task. This necessitates a combination of automated systems and human review. YouTube relies on artificial intelligence to flag potentially violating content. However, AI is still under development, and it can struggle to understand context and nuances, leading to both false positives and negatives. This is where human moderators come in, reviewing flagged content and making decisions based on YouTube's policies. The challenge for YouTube, as with other platforms, is to strike a balance between protecting free speech and preventing harm. Removing too much content can stifle legitimate political debate, while removing too little can allow misinformation to proliferate and potentially influence election outcomes. This balancing act is complex and fraught with challenges, often leaving YouTube in the crosshairs of criticism from all sides of the political spectrum. YouTube's community guidelines serve as the overarching framework for content moderation on the platform. These guidelines cover a wide range of potential violations, from spam and deceptive practices to hate speech and harassment. While not specifically tailored for elections, these general guidelines play a crucial role in maintaining a respectful and safe environment for users to engage in political discourse. One key area covered by the community guidelines is harassment and cyberbullying. During elections, tensions run high, and online platforms can become breeding grounds for personal attacks and intimidation. YouTube prohibits content that threatens or incites violence against individuals or groups, including political candidates, election officials, and voters. This policy aims to protect individuals from harm and ensure that fear and intimidation do not silence voices or discourage participation in the democratic process. Another crucial aspect is the prohibition of hate speech. YouTube defines hate speech as content that promotes violence or hatred against individuals or groups based on protected attributes such as race, religion, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender identity, and disability. During elections, identity politics often come to the forefront, and hateful rhetoric can be used to sow division and incite violence. By prohibiting hate speech, YouTube aims to create a more inclusive and respectful online environment where diverse viewpoints can be expressed without resorting to harmful stereotypes or prejudice. YouTube also has strict policies against manipulated content, particularly deep fakes, which have become increasingly sophisticated and difficult to detect. Deep fakes can be used to create highly believable but entirely fabricated videos, potentially misleading viewers and damaging the reputation of individuals, including political candidates. YouTube recognizes the potential harm of such content and takes steps to remove it from the platform. However, the rapidly evolving nature of deepfake technology poses an ongoing challenge for content moderation efforts. Recognizing the unique challenges posed by elections, YouTube has implemented specific policies to address election-related misinformation. These policies target content that aims to mislead voters, undermine confidence in democratic processes, or suppress voter turnout. By clearly defining these violations, YouTube seeks to create a level playing field for political discourse and ensure that voters have access to accurate information to make informed decisions. One critical area of focus is voter suppression. YouTube prohibits content that provides false or misleading information about voting procedures, such as incorrect polling locations, voting dates, or voter registration deadlines. The platform also prohibits content that discourages people from voting by spreading false claims about the voting process, such as alleging widespread voter fraud or claiming that votes do not matter. Such misinformation can have a chilling effect on voter turnout, particularly among marginalized communities that are often targeted with disinformation campaigns. YouTube also has specific policies regarding candidate eligibility. The platform prohibits content that makes demonstrably false claims about a candidate's eligibility to hold office based on clearly defined legal requirements such as citizenship, age, or residency. Spreading misinformation about a candidate's eligibility can undermine the legitimacy of the electoral process and sow distrust in democratic institutions. By removing such content, YouTube aims to ensure that voters have access to accurate information about the candidates and can make informed decisions based on facts rather than falsehoods. Furthermore, YouTube prohibits content that incites interference with democratic processes. This includes content that encourages violence or intimidation at polling places, calls for the disruption of vote counting, or promotes efforts to delegitimize election results. Such content poses a direct threat to the integrity of elections and undermines the peaceful transfer of power, a cornerstone of democratic societies. By swiftly removing such content, YouTube aims to prevent real-world harm and safeguard the electoral process from undue influence or disruption. While YouTube has a responsibility to remove harmful content, it also recognizes the importance of protecting free speech and fostering an environment where diverse viewpoints can be expressed. In certain cases, content that might otherwise violate YouTube's community guidelines may be allowed to remain on the platform if it falls under the educational, documentary, scientific, or artistic exception. The EDSA exception acknowledges that context is crucial when evaluating potentially harmful content. For example, a video that includes hate speech to condemn it, or a documentary that features graphic violence to raise awareness about a social issue might be considered valuable contributions to public discourse. Similarly, educational content about historical events or political movements might include footage or language that would be considered inappropriate in other contexts. When evaluating content for the EDSA exception, YouTube considers several factors, including the video's title, description, and the overall context in which the content is presented. The platform also considers the creator's intent and whether the content is presented in a way that is clearly educational, documentary, scientific, or artistic. Crucially, YouTube requires that content claiming an EDSA exception clearly labels false claims as false and provides context to prevent viewers from being misled. The EDSA exception highlights the complex and nuanced nature of content moderation. While clear-cut cases of hate speech, harassment, or misinformation should be removed, there is a grey area where content's value depends on its context and purpose. By allowing for exceptions, YouTube attempts to strike a balance between protecting users from harm and fostering open dialogue on important social and political issues. Section 5. The Real-Time Challenge, Live Streams and Misinformation. Live streaming has become increasingly popular on YouTube, allowing creators to connect with their audience in real time. While live streaming offers many benefits, it also presents unique challenges for content moderation, particularly during elections when the spread of misinformation can have immediate and potentially irreversible consequences. Unlike pre-recorded videos that can be reviewed before publication, live streams occur in real time, making it difficult to moderate content before it reaches viewers. This immediacy makes live streams an attractive platform for spreading misinformation, as harmful content can quickly go viral before YouTube has a chance to take action. Even when content is flagged and removed, it may have already reached a large audience and the damage may already be done. To address this challenge, YouTube employs a combination of automated tools and human moderators to monitor live streams for policy violations. AI systems can scan chat messages and analyze video content in real time, flagging potentially harmful content for review by human moderators. However, the speed and volume of content in live streams make it challenging to keep up, and there is always a risk that some violations will slip through the cracks. Furthermore, the real-time nature of live streams makes it difficult to apply the EDSA exception, and while pre-recorded content can be evaluated in its entirety before a decision is made about its suitability, live streams present a moving target. It is challenging to determine the context and intent behind statements made in the heat of the moment, and even well-intentioned creators might inadvertently make false or misleading statements. Section 6. Navigating the grey areas, subjectivity and enforcement discrepancies. Despite YouTube's detailed community guidelines and election-specific policies, content moderation remains an inherently subjective process. Determining whether a particular video violates YouTube's policies often requires making judgment calls about intent, context, and potential harm. This subjectivity can lead to inconsistencies in enforcement, with similar content sometimes being treated differently. One challenge arises from the inherently ambiguous nature of some policy violations. For example, what constitutes inciting violence or spreading misinformation can be open to interpretation. A statement that one person might consider a harmless joke could be perceived as a threat by another. Similarly, a claim that might seem outlandish and easily dismissible to some could be accepted as truth by others. The cultural and linguistic diversity of YouTube's global user base adds another layer of complexity. What is considered offensive or inappropriate in one culture might be perfectly acceptable in another. Humorous content, in particular, can be easily misinterpreted when taken out of its cultural context. Similarly, translating policies into multiple languages can lead to nuances being lost or altered, potentially resulting in inconsistent enforcement across different regions. Furthermore, the sheer volume of content uploaded to YouTube makes it impossible for human moderators to review every video. This necessitates relying on AI systems to flag potentially violating content, but AI is still under development and prone to errors. AI systems might struggle to understand sarcasm, satire, or other forms of figurative language, leading to false positives where harmless content is flagged as violating. Conversely, AI systems might fail to detect subtle forms of hate speech or misinformation, leading to false negatives where harmful content slips through the cracks. Section 7. The arms race, AI deepfakes, and the future of misinformation. The battle against election misinformation is constantly evolving, with new technologies presenting both challenges and opportunities for platforms like YouTube. Artificial intelligence, while a valuable tool for content moderation, is also being used to create increasingly sophisticated forms of misinformation, such as deepfakes, that can deceive even discerning viewers. Deepfakes are videos that have been digitally manipulated to replace one person's face with another's, making it appear as if the person in the video is saying or doing something they never did. While initially used for entertainment purposes, deepfakes have the potential to be weaponized for malicious purposes, such as spreading false information about political candidates or inciting violence by making it appear as if someone is making inflammatory statements. The increasing accessibility of deepfake technology poses a significant challenge for platforms like YouTube. Detecting deepfakes requires advanced algorithms and significant computational power. Even with these tools, it can be difficult to distinguish between authentic and manipulated videos, especially as deepfake technology becomes more sophisticated. This creates a cat-and-mouse game where platforms are constantly playing catch-up, trying to stay one step ahead of those seeking to exploit these technologies for malicious purposes. However, AI is not just the problem, it can also be part of the solution. Researchers are developing new AI-powered tools to detect deepfakes and other forms of synthetic media. These tools analyze videos for subtle inconsistencies that might indicate manipulation, such as unnatural blinking patterns or inconsistencies in lighting and shadows. While not foolproof, these tools offer a promising avenue for combating the spread of AI-generated misinformation. Section 8. Transparency and accountability, a call for openness. As YouTube grapples with the challenges of combating election misinformation, transparency and accountability are paramount. Users need to understand how YouTube's policies are enforced, what actions are taken against violating content, and what steps are being taken to improve content moderation practices. Increased transparency can help build trust in the platform and ensure that users feel confident that their voices are being heard and their concerns are being addressed. One crucial aspect of transparency is providing users with clear and accessible information about YouTube's community guidelines and election-specific policies. This includes explaining the rationale behind these policies, the specific types of content that violate them, and the potential consequences for users who violate these rules. YouTube should also provide regular updates on its enforcement efforts, including data on the number of videos removed, the reasons for removal, and the geographic distribution of these actions. Furthermore, YouTube should be more transparent about its use of AI in content moderation. This includes providing information about the algorithms used, the data sets they are trained on, and the potential biases inherent in these systems. YouTube should also be open about the limitations of AI and acknowledge that these systems are not perfect and can make mistakes. By being upfront about these limitations, YouTube can help manage user expectations and foster a more informed discussion about the role of AI in content moderation. In addition to transparency, accountability is essential. YouTube should be held accountable for its content moderation decisions and the effectiveness of its efforts to combat election misinformation. This includes establishing clear channels for users to appeal content moderation decisions, providing timely and informative responses to these appeals, and taking steps to address systemic issues that lead to inconsistent or biased enforcement. Section 9, a shared responsibility beyond platform policies. While platforms like YouTube have a crucial role in combating election misinformation, it is important to recognize that this is a shared responsibility. Governments, civil society organizations, educators, and individuals all have a part to play in creating a more informed and resilient information ecosystem. Governments can play a role by enacting legislation that holds platforms accountable for the spread of misinformation on their platforms while also protecting freedom of expression. This might include requiring platforms to be more transparent about their content moderation practices, provide users with greater control over the content they see, and invest in media literacy initiatives to help citizens critically evaluate information online. Civil society organizations can play a vital role in monitoring platforms for misinformation, conducting research on the impact of misinformation on elections, and advocating for policy changes to address these challenges. They can also develop educational resources and training programs to help journalists, fact-checkers, and the general public identify and debunk misinformation. Educators at all levels, from primary school to university, have a critical role in equipping students with the skills and knowledge they need to navigate the digital world safely and responsibly. This includes teaching students how to critically evaluate information online, identify different types of misinformation, and understand how algorithms and online platforms can shape the information they encounter. Ultimately, combating election misinformation requires a collective effort. Platforms like YouTube have a responsibility to create a safer and more transparent online environment, but they cannot do it alone. By working together, governments, civil society organizations, educators, and individuals can help ensure that elections are free, fair, and informed.